Hello, diary. I had a second, significant dream about my deceased son. I'm underground in a subway station. There's no one else there. I look down the tracks. In Spanish, I'm learning Spanish. The tracks are sometimes called la via, which is the way. Very Taoistic. And I look down the subway platform, and Forrest is walking towards me. He sees me. He's carrying like a duffel bag, and he's dressed comfortably, like with a t-shirt and flannel shirt over the top of it. And as we get closer and come together, we embrace, or at least I embrace him. And as we're staring into each other's faces, I tell him that my mother is very worried about the choices that he's making. And he gives me a look that says, like, what are you talking about? You know, that look, that's like, what? What do you mean? A look I accepted, I guess, a lot of times. And before we go any further into, discussing what's right or our worry or whatever, I tell him that he died on August 18th. And he gives me a look like, oh shit. Like the impact hits him. That he did this. And he didn't even know it. And that also something connects there, like maybe he's walking around in some liminal bardo state and he makes the connection. I guess I could tell that he was like really sorry. If that's the word, like he recognized that it was a complete fuck up. It's the only word. And I stare at him, and he has a shaved head, and I'm looking at the contour of his hairline and scalp. And it was real, felt real, that kind of thing. I don't remember how the dream ended, probably with me waking up. And then just, lying awake for a while. I just want to say a little bit about dreams. I have met people who have lost, their junkie, and they'll associate dreams with visitations, or like my phone stopped working, or a light bulb blew out, or I felt this feeling, or a chill, or, they'll see something that is clearly reminiscent of their lost person when they were around, and they'll believe that they're being communicated with from beyond death, which of course is the nature of all of our ruminations and religions, and all of it is just a way to ease the anxiety of death. And of course it's all specious. We don't know what happens after death. But I know that those aren't visitations from those people. They're conjurings of a grief-stricken mind. That's what they are. And that's why those dreams aren't so comforting, because I just have to tell my befuddled son that he's dead every time I see him. And there's no wisdom being imparted or message. You're going to create your own messages. God sent me a message, or an angel came to me, or some such nonsense. It's bullshit. And I feel very strongly about that, because it takes the onus off of the living to do the right things with their bodies and their minds and their societies. If you think you live beyond this, or that somebody else does, you give them a pass, and you give the next person who's not dead also some sort of pass to say that, that you're not destroying the most precious thing you have, that that you'll live for, you'll live on, or whatever. You take the responsibility away. This is the problem I have with Jesus, is if Jesus existed, and you don't know if he did, no matter what you say or think, there's no evidence, none, outside of the Gospels, which are largely written, decades later. If you want to know that, you take 20 minutes of your life and go on Google, type it in, did Jesus exist? At least there's enough there to clearly indicate that it's an open question, not a closed question. And the problem that I have is that when you create a God out of a human, it's called apotheosis, and you set them apart from humanity, or you set them apart. They're God men. How come there's no God women? You abdicate your own responsibility to become the full thing that you can be, because you can never attain something like that. And it's completely ridiculous that you've turned a living, human, suffering, breathing, dying entity and turned them into an eternal force for your purposes. So, if anything, if there was a Jesus, he's a victim of apotheosis. And the result is Christians missing the point completely about what it is to have and extend and share a good life. I think some of the moral teachings of Christianity are really, for me, they're good. Like, I do like feeling love, and also trying to use positive things to change negative things. But I don't even know if that's a message, exclusionary or exclusive of Christianity. It's just beyond that, all the other stuff is just baggage and made up garbage about turning a person into something they're not. And I recently saw on, you open your computer and there's a guy talking about yoga. And he's like a guru type, the beard and the hair. And he's saying things that are, nice music in the background. I play Indian music. I understand how awesome those vibrations are. And he's talking about how yoga is this way of developing your life to the fullest and all this. And then there's some quick cuts, where it shows the all the people that are out there. And he's saying, you can change the world and good stuff so far, And then they cut to him being carried aloft by his devotees. And he's like, being carried by these people. And I'm like, idiot, like you just fell into the same trap. Both sides. The adoration sets him above you. This jive-ass dude accepting this. If you've really got something to offer people, in my opinion, you would never do that. You would never play into that shit of hierarchy, spiritual hierarchies. I laughed because I would love to get into, spiritual practice. I have it. I do it. It's just not guided by my adoration of another human being. Or of their knowledge or of their message, but not of, somehow placing them above you, above me, above anybody. And I do think some people are better than other people, not because of who they are, but because of what they do, how they've mastered themselves into not being just straight up evil. It's like in our natural state, we're just going to steal from our neighbors. We're just going to shove all the candy bars in our mouth. We're just going to, fuck everything in sight. We're going to, hoard. We're going to do things that make a lot of sense on that level, but do not lead to the greatest happiness for the collective societies that we have developed. So, yeah, I think some people are better than other people because they have taken the supreme efforts that it takes to not be the shitty people that nature needs us to be to survive, right? It's like Dawkins, a robot's rebellion. People don't understand that idea, and it's that we're programmed to behave a certain way, and the way that we rebel against that robotic programming is to care about each other, to move things into a new place. So seeing someone in a dream, worshiping your guru or your minister or whoever, Even your gods are just, an extension of this same impulse to make somebody better than you, because that way you don't have to do the work. You don't have to become Christ yourself. So that's not my son trying to give me a message. And I've asked many times after he died, like, show yourself. I'm open. But there's no, and I don't, it's not just because he didn't show himself to me post-death. It's just no one has. Maybe a few energetic ghosts have existed. So like I said before in other videos, we don't know. We don't know. And if anybody tells you they do know, go the other way. Because they don't know. They're just manipulating you because you're afraid and you need answers. I used to say that, physics, I tell Forrest that physics says that things are both here at the same time. Like, Forrest is still here. He's still in this room, but just more remotely than this moment. But that's not how we experience life. That's not really how life plays out. If that's a property of theoretical physics that makes sense analytically in some mathematical way, okay, but if you treat yourself badly and kill yourself, you're out. You're gone. And to destroy the body is to destroy the mind. And now there's just my mind, just projecting all this shit. My advice: live well and reject metaphysics. Reject anything that has no evidence, no proof, that appeals to your fear. Or at least suspend your commitment to that. Like, that's an idea. Bringing it in. Like I said, I'd love there to be reincarnation. I want to come back 1,000,000 times. I would be my son's dog, if he came back as, somebody with a dog, I'd be happy to be his dog. But we don't know that.